Welcome to today's session. I came across a nice expression through the week, a little quote about yoga. Very simple. It goes like this. Um, a little yoga goes a long way. And that has a double meaning for me because one of them is, I've been doing maybe not such a little yoga, but a little yoga for a long time, for 50 years or so. So it has gone a long way. And the other thing is, as I've aged, I've been more careful about what I do. So sometimes not, well, not exceeding my limits and being careful in that way. So a little yoga goes a long way. In today's session, we're going to be doing strengthening and flexibility exercises for the upper body, arms and shoulders, and a little bit of work towards inversions, and we call those preparations for inversions. Let's begin. On the mat, lying down, supine, that is on your back, I have an assortment of props, a yoga strap, a couple of blankets, bolster, even a chair, and two yoga blocks. Let me collect this one. When you're lying down on your back, have your legs bent and your feet on the floor near to your buttocks. I like to start many of these sessions with Apanasana. So let's start there because it's a good breathing exercise too. So once lying down, bend your legs, rest your hands on the front of your knees, and let's move the knees away and the knees in. I prefer not to bring my thighs all the way to my ribs because that rounds my back. So mainly working through the abdominal area, and this helps your organs of digestion and elimination. So when you bring your thighs towards you, moving your sitting bones towards the floor. With the breath, exhaling to inhaling. And we're going to switch and bring the hands onto the outside of the legs and extend the legs up towards the ceiling with the inhalation, and exhale, knees towards your chest. Inhaling to exhaling, and working gently into the hamstring stretch. Let's add an arm movement. We're talking about arms and shoulders. So when you extend the arms overhead at the same time as extending the legs towards the ceiling. So bent legs, arms come back and hold the outside of your legs. Inhaling, arms overhead, legs up towards the ceiling. The next time you stretch your legs up, keep your hands on the outside of your legs and separate your feet a little bit and circle your feet and your ankles. Beautiful. And just waking up those toes and foot bones and ankles. And then let's bring feet back to the floor. And then following the Apanasana and hamstring stretches with bridging. Bring your arms down by your side. On an inhalation, begin to lift the pelvis off the floor in a little lift, and then back down to the floor to rest. Press your feet, lift up, and lower down. The next time that you lift off, bring your arms overhead as you did previously. And exhale, arms and hips return to the floor. Always good to start small and build up momentum if you choose to do that. And taking care that this is a good movement for your back at the moment. Next time you bring your arms up overhead and the hips are elevated, now bring your arms back down to the ground and we'll do a gliding movement for the hips. So we're going to create a C curve on one side of your waist and then gliding move into the other side. So keeping the hips level, just sliding one hip to one side and then in reverse hip to the other side. And as much as you can, keep the hips level. And if this is working according to my plan, then there's a contraction through the oblique muscles of the abdomen as you go along. And then let's center ourselves and lower back to floor and pause right there. Let's finish this floor sequence with Ardha Jatara Parvatanasana, which is the Sanskrit name for the belly twister pose. So, lifting the thighs towards the chest again, extend the arms out to the side in line with your shoulders, and take the knees towards the right and downwards towards the floor, but keep the left shoulder blade on the floor. Knees to the right, left side anchored to the floor. And then thighs close to your ribs, knees to the left, look to the right. Keep a nice tuck of the thighs towards you, and the inside leg muscles are working to keep the knees and the shin bones and the thigh and the feet close together. We're coming to the last side now, to the left side. Come back to center. And arms by your side and feet flat on the floor. And we're going to roll to the side and come all the way up to standing. And let's work through a few of these arm movements. Once you're standing, have your feet a little separated and take Tadasana. Relax your shoulders. Feel your 2 feet on the ground. Adjust the pelvis so that it's neither posterior or anterior tilt, but in neutral position with the tailbone slightly lifted. Bring the right arm up towards the ceiling, fold that arm back behind you, and hold the elbow with the opposite hand. I tend to bring my ribs forward and my head forward in this position, so bring your ears back a little bit and soften the ribs down towards your abdomen. Take the opposite arm, left arm out to the left, fold that arm back behind you. And what seems to be the usual case is that one side is more flexible than the other. The other may be stiffer, or maybe there's an injury there. But as much as possible, keep the lower wrist, that in my case is my left wrist, pressing against my back. Looks like that. And that gives me a good wrist extension, and that's very helpful. And then release all of that. Let your arms swing free. Little bounce through your knees, and then bring the left arm up and back. Hold your elbow for a moment and make those adjustments. Your head comes back a little bit and the diaphragm ribs towards the hips. And then right arm out to the side, fold it back. This is my tighter side, so I'm going to take a little time with it. A little yoga goes a long way, not being pushy and respectful of any limits. And then let it go, and the arms come down and swing free again. Let's take another movement that's helpful for shoulders, shoulder blades. Bring your right arm in front of you, crook your elbow in front of your chest, and then slot the opposite arm, the left arm, inside the right elbow. This works to have the backs of the hands together or entwining the hands so the palms are together. So feel into your upper part of your back and breathe in to the dorsal thoracic and broaden the shoulder blades at the same time as you move your elbows forward. And then let's the arms swing free, and let's swap, and left elbow crook and right arm inside. Good. Once the hands are entwined like this, move the elbows a little bit forward and breathe into your upper part of your back. And let's let it go and swing free. This might be a good time to introduce our balancing poses that I try to bring into every class. So simply, with your legs soften behind your knees, bring your arms up overhead, and the arms are parallel, just alongside your ears. Take your arms out to the side and lower down. Simple movement once again, arms up, arms out to the side and down. This next time we'll do a heel raise, and so in that category of balancing on the forefoot and the backs of the toes. And exhale, and arms and heels come down. Good, staying calm and taking it slowly. And when the arms are elevated, the heels are up. And exhale down. Good, beautifully strengthening movement for the toes as well. And third one coming up and all the way down. I'm noticing I'm not holding it for very long, but long enough. And then let's do this with chair pose. So let's say inhale and bringing your arms up alongside your ears and a knee bend and the buttocks move back. From here, see how you go. Raise up onto the ball of the foot. Come up on the heel raise and exhale down. That was very slow, methodical. Let's do it again. Chair pose, moving the shin bones back a little bit, and heels up. Stay on the inside of the foot as much as you can, big toe and second toe. And even when you're all the way up, straight legs, heels are up, and slowly lowering down. And once again, chair pose. Heels up, stay up, straighten the legs, lower the arms, and take a few breaths. All right, let's do, a little bit of mobility work for the shoulders. So it looks like this. I'll demonstrate first. We do kind of a bounce through the knees at the same time as circling the arms. And it looks like this. Knee bounce, 2 of those bounces, 2 circles of the arms. This isn't really a yoga pose, but I think it's pretty good for warming up the shoulders. If you can figure it out, and it took me a little while to do that, then you could reverse the cross of the arms each time. There's no really right way to do this. It's just moving, and preferably moving with the breath. And it's hard to stop. You don't know where to stop. And then let's pause in all that arm flapping. Take a seated position on your mat. And for a moment, and we'll do more of this later, we'll do a strengthening movement for your arms and your shoulders. So once seated on your mat, keep your legs bent and your feet on the floor at a distance of about 30 centimeters from your buttocks. Bring your hands back behind you and use your hands and your arms to prop yourself up and lift your chest nicely. The pose in Sanskrit is called Purvattanasana, and we're going to do kind of like we did the bridges, lift the buttocks off the floor and the hips up towards the ceiling. At this point, I'm not taking my head back. I'm just looking straight up towards the ceiling, lower back down. So this is, apart from arm strengthening, it's very much a movement for your wrists. And you can do the pose as if it's too strong on your wrists, you might just practice here lifting and opening your chest. Otherwise, let's go again. We'll do 3 of these all together. Round 2, see if you can lift your hips a little bit higher. And back down to ground. And last one. And hips come up. If you could, you would lift the hips as high as your knees. And then back down to the ground. And extend out the legs. Clasp your hands together with your wrists together and just circle your wrists in that fashion. Sometimes we talk about isolating movements, so if possible, that wrist movement with very little work through your forearms, just your wrists. Good. And then shake them out. Beautiful. Take a bolster to sit on with your legs in Dandasana straight out in front of you. And I have my blocks and 2 foam blocks for Baddha Konasana. So when you bend your legs and bring your feet together, that movement for me projects me back onto my tailbone. So I'm just going to elevate my hips a little bit higher and bring my attention to the front of my sitting bones rather than my tailbone. And then I've got my blocks to support my knees. But there is another variation. If you find this compresses your knees and that's creating discomfort or even pain, then create a bigger distance of a longer distance of your feet away from you and less pressure onto the inside of your knees. So my legs are in a diamond shape. I don't really have that problem, so I'm going to keep my feet close to me. And then let's take the arms up in Baddha Hastasana. Interlock your fingers. Turn your hands inside out. Stretch your elbows straight. And bring the arms overhead. Good. And lowering back down and releasing to Upavista Konasana. So I can take those blocks away and extend my legs within my range of movement. So a little yoga goes a long way. We don't want to go over limits there. But the kind of the alignment of the legs is important. And what you might think about here is that the knees stay centered in the median line of the leg, and you're on the center of your heels. The inner thighs drop down and the inner knees. Then interlock your hands if you remember which way, so that you're opposite interlock. Turn your hands inside out and use the arm extension. Feel the outer shoulder blades lifting away from the outer waist and outer ribs. Extend the heels out, your feet are flexed, and then release the arms down. Grab a hold of the inside of the knees, help lifting the knees up towards the ceiling, and extend the legs back to Dandasana. Let's do just one more preparation of legs for the other work we'll do later, and that is cross-legged position. My bolster is a bit slippery, so I'm going to prop myself up a little bit higher again. There's a way of doing cross-legged position. There's probably a few ways of doing it, which is sometimes called awkward position, not a very nice name, where your shin bones are parallel in front of you. Instead of drawing the heels all the way back, the heels are underneath the knees. So you can try that version and also use your blocks to prop up the outer thighs or the outer knees. And then let's swap the legs. Notice the difference on the sides. I don't think I suggested one leg in front of the other particularly, but usually we go to the easier side on the first round, so this might be a little more difficult. Bring your hands next to you and then lift some of the weight of the ribs and the torso away from the legs. Stretch up. And Dandasana. And legs extended out. Beautiful. And we're going to come into a kneeling position onto the mat. Now for kneeling, I use doubled up mats here, which is very good for my knees. You might try that. These days you can purchase a special yoga prop, which is a kneeler, and that's a good idea too. So we've gotten to the kneeling position, all fours position onto the mat, and just do a simple lifting of the spine towards the ceiling, drawing the spine in a dip towards the floor. So opening up the upper back towards the ceiling in a rainbow shape, and then allowing the spine to dip towards the floor. And we'll do that just for a couple of more times. And then once again, we'll introduce some strengthening work. So tuck your toes under. Keep your backs of your knuckles pressing down into the mat. And then hover the knees just a few centimeters off the floor. And lower down. My toes are tucked under. I'm on the backs of my toes and then lifting up again. And the knees come up just a little. We'll do that for, let's say, 3 more times, 5 altogether. Use your core muscles to lift up, so drawing the navel up towards the spine. And then let's take a relaxing break in child's pose. Come down onto your elbows. Draw your elbows back towards your knees. If your hips don't come anywhere near to the floor, then you're just hovering the hips too. But you can let your head come down, relax your shoulders. Back to cat-cow position, whatever we want to call that, and kneeling. The latest expression I've heard for this is quadruped. Yes, so tuck your toes under, hover your knees again, and from this position, push back and up with the hips into downward facing dog pose. We're not holding, we're coming back to the knee lift a couple of centimeters off the floor, push back, downward facing dog pose. And let's do this one for a total of 5 rounds. Keep the breath long and deep. And once more, child's pose, your version, elbows on the floor, and maybe fold your hands, fold them into 2 fists, stack them up, rest your head onto the top hand, relax your shoulders and your shoulder blades. Soft breathing. And let's try one more strengthening movement in a cat-cow position. And this might be new to you. Tuck your toes under. We're going to take, tuck your toes under and hover your knees again. Just a slight lift of the knee. And then try this for yourself. Going to move your right hand forward and your left foot forward. And then followed by the opposite side, left hand, right foot. Keep your hips low. Take as many steps like this as you can at the moment. And oftentimes, sometimes movements seem impossible just because you haven't practiced them. And then what would happen if we tried going back? So my right hand coming back, my left foot coming back, my knees have lifted up quite a lot. And finishing and happily finishing in child's pose. And elbows back towards your knees. You might flip your hands over. Instead of having palms down, turn your palms up towards the ceiling and give your wrists that nice rotation. And then let's take our bolster and our blocks for Prasarita Padottanasana. Come all the way up to standing again. This is head down, propped up version of Prasarita. Wide leg forward fold. And it's not known exactly what props I'm going to need for today, so I have that selection, a bolster and a couple of yoga blocks. So start with your bolster in front of you and a block on top of it. And adopt your wide leg position with your feet parallel. Then fold forward from the tops of your thighs, so hinging from the tops of your legs. And then place your hands onto the bolster and bring your head towards the support. So I've got a block on top of my bolster and my head resting on that top block. My hands are up onto the bolster and my elbows bent pretty much over my wrists. So what I discovered when I came down to rest my crown of my head onto the block is that I can actually go down a bit further without bending my legs. So I'm going to try that. I've warmed up my hamstrings, and still I notice there's quite a strong stretch there. So the head is down, much as it would be if you were doing a preparation for headstand, crown of your head projecting forward and down, and your shoulders lifting up. We're trying to avoid rounding the shoulders. Keep your core muscles engaged and lifted. I'm just going to hold for several breaths more. In this last stage, I'm going to bring my hands down onto the mat. And then once the hands are down, I'm going to work towards lifting my shoulders a bit more. To release from the pose, you could bring the feet in closer to each other. Not so easy to do when your head is supported like this. So press your hands, lift your head, and then heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe, back to center, and rolling up to standing. All right, once you're on your upright position again, let's move all the props except for one block and a belt off to the side. And we'll do a little work in forearm balance preparation. You could think of this as helpful for your hamstring stretch, but also for proprioception. So the idea of knowing how you're using your upper back, which you can't see in this, and activating your shoulder blades and your shoulders. So take your block and place it on the low end in front of you in a kneeling position. And take up your strap and adjust it to shoulder width distance. So I'm binding my belt with a loop that's only shoulder width distance. Once you've got that, then slip the belt onto your upper arms, just above your elbow joint, and bring your hands down around the block. I'll just lift it for a moment so you can see index finger and thumb make a frame around the block. So far in my kneeling position, I just want to get my hands, wrists, forearms, elbows pressing down into the mat. And then as I take my knees back, sort of like cat-cow position again, I'll push forward through my hands and to bring a little bit more contact and strength through my forearms. From here, I'm going to lift my knees and hips up towards the ceiling. And what will help lift my head away from the floor is to activate my shoulder blades. So my shoulders lift up, and especially the inside of my shoulder blades moving up towards my waist. And then take a break. Sometimes it's quite surprising how much work there is in the call for strength from your upper arms and your shoulders. But let's have one more go at that. The hands replaced. The hands make that frame. Tuck your toes under, lift up, buttocks up. shoulders up, shoulder blades up. If your head is towards the floor, activate your hands pressing down on the inside. That can also help you lift your shoulders. All right, and then to ground. And let's take the block away and remove your belt. We've got a little bit more work to do here. This time, interlock your hands. Do this version of joining your hands where your wrists are all the way together. And then with your forearms placed down onto the mat again, bring your elbows right underneath your shoulders. Even if we're not to lift up and straighten the legs in this version, you could try this experiment. Just drop your chest towards the floor. Your head will be nearer to your hands. And then lift the chest up away from the floor. Kind of like little tiny push-ups for your upper part of your back, for your dorsal thoracic. And having done that a few times, then keep your elevated position and the shoulders up. And now do tuck your toes under and lift your knees and your hips and drop your head. So you're projecting like you did in the wide leg forward stretch, your head down and your shoulders up. Your head down, your neck stretching down, but your shoulders up. And then come down, knees down. Interlock your hands the other way. And let's go for one more round. Remember that feeling. Instead of collapsing your chest down, lift it, elevate it, tuck your toes. And once we bring the hips up, keep more weight towards your wrists. Lift your inner shoulder blades. And then to the floor and to child's pose. I still have the block nearby. I'm going to bring the block in, put it on the mid-range side, and just rest my head onto the block for this version of child's pose. Relax your shoulders. Okay, very good work. And then we need the chair. So grab a chair and place it for safety near to a wall on your mat. So the back of the chair towards the wall. And I have 2 blankets here, 2 yoga blankets. I think I'll use just one of them. I think that will be sufficient. But a stack of 2 is good for protecting your neck, giving you a little bit of more soft surface for your shoulders. Once the blanket is placed in front of the chair, in this manner, you're ready to lie down. So take your lying down position in front of the chair, your buttocks close to the chair, and then look at that support that you have. Well, not so much look at it, but sense and feel whether you're supported onto that blanket with your neck overhanging the edge and your shoulders about 2 inches shy back away from the edge of the blanket. So pretty much looking like this, but make those adjustments of distance away from the chair so that your shoulders stay supported. And then I'm close enough to the chair to grab hold of the chair legs. And then I'll slide my knees towards my chest, my heels towards the edge of the chair, and lift up hips. Once I've done that, then I can hook my heels, or maybe even the arch of my foot, on the front edge of the chair. So basically, I've lifted up into a bridge straight away. And then let's rejig that. So come all the way back down to ground and notice whether you're still supported on the edge of the blanket with your shoulders, but your neck off that edge. So pressing your feet into the chair and starting to lift up, then slide your feet in closer to you into your supported bridge. If I can keep hold of the legs of the chair in this manner, then I can pull my shoulders under and bring them close in to center of my spine and get a good hip extension here. Feels really great for my hips. In the last part of this, and a progression for you, you can lift one leg and stretch it up. Replace that leg, and second leg extension. If I press my my foot into the chair, I can lift my hips a little bit higher. And then supported once more, 2 feet on the chair, and rolling down upper back to lower back, and the legs supported. The legs supported in this version, kind of like chair Shavasana. Rest your hands across your navel center. Draw your shoulders and your shoulder blades down. And take several breaths there. In any of the ways that we've put our body in the position of upside down, you notice that there's a change through the systems of the body. So you've changed the way that your circulation works, the way that the glands work. And we just want to take time to consolidate. All right, and then take it slowly, roll off to the side, come up to a seated position. And once you're seated in Dandasana with your legs out, I need some elevation to sit like this. So back to sitting on my bolster. We'll work into a seated twist. So bend your left leg and place your left heel close to your left buttock, in my case next to the bolster. And take hold of the front of the knee or the front of the shin bone and draw yourself up to your full height. It's a very good thing to finish yoga sequences with spinal rotation. And we'll do this in the simple way. Left leg's bent. Bring your left elbow on the inside of your left knee. Turn your palm to face outwards. And then bring your right hand onto the floor behind you. I'm going to place a block underneath my right hand because once my hips are elevated like this, then I need a bit more support. And pressing the elbow against the knee, drawing myself up to my full height, and rotating the spine with a little bit of leverage with the elbow against the knee, and then the knee back against the elbow. Sitting tall, elongating the spine, and breathing. All right, and let's go opposite. And once you've switched your legs, take a moment there just to draw yourself fully up to your height, and then bring your right elbow on the inside of your right knee, palm is facing out. Reach back your left hand for support, and pressing left hand down and lengthening upwards. Just cast your gaze back towards your straight leg and make sure that it's straight. Flex that foot, draw out through the left heel, and then a little bit of leverage, elbow against your knee, knee back against your elbow, and there's your rotation. Good. Let's do this just slightly differently. When you release from the pose, keep that right leg bent, and then turn towards it. I'm going to bring my left hand around the outside of the right knee, and then it's going to help me rotate. And now it's the right hand behind me to keep support. If you have the flexibility here, then wrap your elbow around the right knee, left elbow, right knee, and turning and drawing yourself up to your full height, looking back. That left leg is very straight. Good. So we've done this twist on one side. Let's do it on the other, or this version of the twist. So it's right hand, left knee, left hand behind you. You can lean over that leg and crook your elbow around the outside of the knee. Keep it close to you. Your thigh towards your ribs towards your thigh. And we're not holding very long, so we'll do one more variation here and change legs again. And we're turning right once more. And instead of crooking your elbow around the knee, my right hand supporting behind me, left elbow, right knee. Let's see if we can extend that left arm up towards the ceiling, cast it over the outside of the right leg, and its elbow on the outside of the knee, pressing against the knee. Any of those ways that we progressed, you can stay with the earlier stage, and that's fine if it helps you to attain the rotation. Otherwise, elbow to knee, and at this stage, if I press my knee against my elbow, then I can turn my ribs a little bit more. Nice and tall, crown of the head upwards. In the last stage, probably you, like I've been demonstrating, you've been looking back over your shoulder. Now turn your head, look towards the screen, lift up your chest again. And then we're ready for the last side. Right leg straight, left heel in nice and close. Reach your hand back for support, your left hand back behind you. Extend the right arm up towards the ceiling. Throw that arm over the outside of the leg. Press your elbow against your knee. Palm is facing out. The thing about rotations in this manner is that the chest seems to lose out, or I should say the front chest. Back chest is open. Let's see if we can open the front chest a little bit more, pressing down your right hand, I believe it is. No, your left hand, pressing down. Use that arm and hand to help you lift up your spine a little bit more, to open up lift the sternum as well. Stretch your collarbones out. And then looking forward and over your right shoulder. Good. And then let it all go. And extend the both legs straight, Dandasana. And you've done a good job to create rotation through all of your spine. And open the shoulders as well. We have the chair, and I mentioned chair Shavasana. So let's take that chair onto your mat. And preparing the way for the relaxation, you're going to have the legs elevated onto the chair. And sometimes this takes a little bit of fussing with your props so that you're in your most comfortable position to stay for a little while. So the seat of the chair I'll cover with a blanket. And then I have a second blanket here to support the back of my head and my neck. So I'll make a pillow of that blanket. This is a good time to get an eye covering if you're going to use one, and I recommend them. An eye pillow. So I'm going to keep my legs supported onto the chair. So we're still keeping to the theme with that elevation. Instead of legs up the wall, legs on a chair. That idea of putting the body in a slightly inverted position. So adjust your position onto the chair and any props that you need so that you can make yourself utterly comfortable when you're lying down. And don't settle for less. So use your props and take time to arrange your body so that your back body, where your torso rests onto the floor, is long towards the back of your head. And I'm going to start with my elbows bent, my hands resting across my navel center. And take a little time to contact my breath. The breath, which is our constant in our bodies, is for the most part happening below the level of conscious awareness. So take this time to connect with the breath. And being curious, being interested, what the flow of your own breath is like at the moment. And when your hands rest on your torso like this, then it's easy to feel the movement of the breath. Where your breathing muscle is, your diaphragm, and through the rise and fall of your chest and your abdomen. Now you could keep your hands there across the navel center, or release and drop your arms out to the side, a little distance from the body. And with the arms away to the side, roll the shoulders out, draw the shoulders and the shoulder blades down, and find that place of comfort for the arms, the hands, to the point where it feels like the elbows relax. That crease of the elbows shrinks back a little bit towards the floor. Take a moment and let your fingers curl in and touch the skin on your palms. And rub a little bit. And often the skin there feels velvety. And then release your fingers and let them have a little space between them. Yield the weight of the body to the floor. And where the legs are supported, the calf muscles broadening, the inner knees softening. And those heavy bones, the femurs, suspended between the knees and the hips. Draw your awareness to your face and soften the characteristic expression that we have. So around your eyes, the corners of your nose, and your lips, completely relaxed. And we'll stay for another couple of minutes. Allow your eyes to relax and the organs of the eyes drop down, and the gaze of your eyes turns down. Maybe first to watch your breath in the chest. And then settling the gaze on the heart center. And the breath that was our vehicle for going more and more inward. You can even let go of that observation of the breath, and settle on the sensations of warmth, of your own inherent goodness in the heart center. And as always, you can stay here longer. That's up to you. You've set yourself up well. This is a beautiful position for your back, for your support. So stay as long as you like. And otherwise, you can begin to lower your legs and roll to the side. And coming up slowly. We join hands, one seated with the elbows slightly lifted and the head inclined towards your hands, really towards your heart, the heart elevated. And we say namaste. Thank you.